2, 1.
Hi, today we're going to be talking about quoting, paraphrasing, summarizing. That is taking somebody else's thoughts and putting them into your own words. If we look at our agenda for today, we're going to understand the difference between paraphrasing and summarizing. We're going to be looking at some paraphrasing strategies, and then in class, we're going to be playing a telephone game. If you have time, you're going to be paraphrasing the notes that you've already color-coded. So to start off, you would discuss with a partner or think about the following question. So why do we ask you to quote, paraphrase, and summarize your notes when using them in a research paper? What's the purpose of quoting, paraphrasing, and summarizing notes before including them in some kind of paper? So if you thought about that, did you say that the purpose is to prevent plagiarism? We are required to quote, paraphrase, and summarize in order to prevent ourselves from plagiarizing or stealing somebody else's thoughts and ideas. So today we're going to focus on 3 different ways we can prevent plagiarism. We're going to very briefly talk about quoting, then we're going to talk a little bit about summarizing, and we're going to spend most of the period talking about paraphrasing, because out of all 3, paraphrasing is probably the most difficult. So to warm up, we are going to practice and discuss paraphrasing, quoting, and summarizing by looking at some song lyrics. So I'm going to play a little music video clip for you.
Cause the players gonna play, and the haters gonna hate, baby. I'm just gonna shake it off.
So that was a little Taylor Swift. The lyrics that she just sang are over here on this side of the screen. She's saying, because the player's going to play, the hater's going to hate, baby, I'm just going to shake, I shake it off. So in order to properly quote, summarize, and paraphrase, you have to understand what each part of the song is saying. So let's go through that quickly. So the first section is the player's going to play. So if I was to describe that, I would say that people might break your heart, or people might enter relationships for the wrong reason, or there's certain people that are going to date in an unkind way. The next section is the hater's going to hate. So I would say there's some people that are always going to be pessimistic, that are always going to have a bad attitude. And then at the end, it says, baby, I'm going to shake it off. So that's the idea that regardless of these bad things that are happening, she's going to move on and not let it bother her. So those are the 3 different ideas that are contained in those lyrics. So we're going to talk about quoting, paraphrasing, and summarizing, and we're going to start with quoting. So when you quote, you're using an author's exact words. You're taking a portion of the original and you're putting quotation marks around it. So for example, we could quote it by saying, because the player's going to play. And after the quote, we need to include the author's name in parentheses. So there's the word Swift and then a period. So this is how we would quote a portion of the song. The next thing we could do, or the next option we have, is that we could summarize. So to summarize, you're restating the author's main idea in your own words. So here's my original, and I would want to figure out, well, what's the one thing she's trying to say? And I still have to put that in my own words. So for a summary, I can say, people can be mean, but you just have to brush it off. And that would be Swift. Okay, and it doesn't actually need quotes. I apologize that there are quotes here. There should not be quotes here if it's a summary. Okay, and the last but not least is the idea that you are paraphrasing. And if you're paraphrasing, you are taking all of the author's ideas and putting them in your own words. You're not finding the main idea or the most important idea, but rather you need to include all of the author's ideas. So here the author has 3 ideas, the idea of players, haters, and shaking it off, 3 different ideas. So when we go to paraphrase it, we need all 3 of those ideas in our paraphrase. And we're going to talk a little bit more about how we write a really good paraphrase. But you're going to notice that it starts off with, you can't let negativity get you down. So that's idea 3, that you got to shake it off. And then it says, even if people break your heart. So that's the idea of players going to play or say mean things about you. And that's the idea of haters. So this paraphrase has all three ideas in it, and we've put it in our own words. Once again, this one should not have quotes around it. Sorry that it does. That's wrong on my part. So we have briefly looked at how you quote, summarize, and paraphrase. So now there's a handout that's in classroom. You got a paper copy in class if you were in class today. And we are going to look at this Venn diagram. And in this Venn diagram, one circle is for a summary and one circle is for a paraphrase. And where the circles overlap is what they have in common. So you can just leave this slide up on the screen if you don't have the handout in front of you, and you can write your answers down on paper, hitting pause. But let's talk about what you would be expected to do. So you have 8 statements, and out of these 8 statements, some of them apply to summaries, some of them apply to paraphrases, and some of them apply to both summaries and paraphrases. So you're going to go down each of these 8 statements, and you're going to put either an S if you think it's a summary, P if you think it's a paraphrase, or B if you think it's both. So let's look at the first one. It says, uses your own words. So if I'm using my own words, I know that I have to use my own words for both a summary and a paraphrase. So I would put a B here for both. So I want you to look at the next 7, and I want you to hit pause and figure out for these 7 statements, what are you going to write next to it? Is it an S, a P, or a B? And hit play when you're ready to check your answers. So how did you do? Your screen might be, my little video box might be covering some of them. So it goes B, both, paraphrase, summary, paraphrase. So B, P, S, P on the left, and on the right, it's summary, and then both, both, both. So S, B, B, B for these 4. And when you put them into the Venn diagram, it would look like this. So when you summarize, you're focusing on the main idea, leaving out some details, which is going to make the summary shorter than the original. In contrast with paraphrasing, because you're including all the ideas and details from the original, it's going to be as long as the original. Both of them use your own words. They do not require quotation marks. They're a way to avoid plagiarism, and they both require in-text citations. So out of the 3 things we've talked about, quoting, summarizing, and paraphrasing is definitely the most difficult. So when we're paraphrasing, we need to make sure we're changing both the words and the structure. And I think that's why paraphrasing is so difficult, because we have a tendency to want to just change a few words and consider that a paraphrase. And that's not the case. We have to change the words and the structure. So when you're paraphrasing on your own, you can use this little cheat sheet, which we handed out in class. So in order to paraphrase, you'd pick one strategy from this column and one strategy from this column. So you're changing both the words and the structure. So one strategy under change the words would be to replace the subject with a pronoun. So here's an example. Dogs make the best pets becomes they make the best pets. So in this example, dogs is a subject, and we replaced it with a pronoun they. So examples of pronouns might be he, she, it, their, this, someone. So you can try any of those words to replace the subject, and that would be one way to change the words. Another thing you can do is replace some words with synonyms. So a synonym is a word that means the same thing as another word. So for example, if it says pit bulls are known for their aggressive behavior, it could become pit bulls are recognized for their hostile attitude. Recognized is a synonym for known, hostile is a synonym for aggressive, and attitude is a synonym for behavior. Other synonyms might be a synonym for hot might be steamy or sweltering. A synonym for happy could be ecstatic or joyous. So you can replace some words with words that mean the same thing. The last strategy in this column would be to delete words or phrases that you can get rid of without changing the meaning. So for example, this says dogs can cause all kinds of really horrible problems, and we can just change it to dogs can cause problems. I've gotten rid of all kinds of really horrible. Okay, I don't need that. I don't lose any of the meaning if I just change it to dogs can cause problems. So sometimes we can change the words by deleting some of the words. And then the other thing you can do is change the structure. And there's 3 strategies for changing the structure. The first one is to flip-flop the order of the sentence. So you can move